Hi everyone, Yulia here. So today I will be talking about cover crops and winter rye in particular because that's what I've been planting in my garden over the last 3 years. So I'll be talking about why you should be planting cover crops, when and how. Now the first question is, why should you be planting cover crops? And there are mainly 4 reasons for it. The first one is to prevent erosion. So anytime you have exposed soil in your garden, it's very prone to erosion because there are no roots holding the soil particles together, so the soil just washes away. And the cover crops hold it together in the fall, in the winter months, so it doesn't wash away. The second reason is because they add nutrients to your soil. And so there are 2 types of cover crops. The first one is grass-like, so it's your wheat or rye, and the second group is legumes or legumes. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but those are like alfalfa or clovers, and they are like amazing. Because basically what they do during their growth period, they take nitrogen out of the air and they transfer it to the soil like magic. So that's pretty cool. Now the third reason you should be growing your cover crops is because they're weed suppressant. So how do they do that? So basically when you have something growing, there is competition for oxygen, space, nutrients. So when you put down your cover crops, there's pretty much no space for anything else because you're supposed to plant them pretty tight together. And the fourth reason, it's my favorite, is because they're beautiful. I'd rather look at something like this, so this is my winter rye planted this fall, than a bare patch of dirt, right? Isn't that much better? So the next question is, when should you be planting your cover crops? And it depends on a cover crop. I will post the time when you should be seeding it in the description box below. So for winter rye, general rule is 30 days before your first hard frost. I'm always late because I'm running around doing other projects, but winter rye is very hardy. So I planted this, I think it was the end of October, and in November we actually had really cold weather and a snowstorm, and it still did pretty well. The one mistake I made is I did not remove the leaves on time, so it kind of struggled a little bit growing under the leaves, but then once I blew the leaves away, it was just fine. Now the next question is, how do you plant your cover crop? So for example, this is my flower garden during the summertime. So after all the flowers are done blooming, I remove all the vegetation out of here, pull out all of the roots, and I rake the surface, not too deep, probably an inch or so. I never till my soil anywhere in the garden. So I'll rake it and then I'll spread the seeds. I'll spread the seeds by hand. You can use a seed dispenser if you have a very large area that you want to cover with your cover crops. And then I will rake it again to make sure that the seeds are covered with soil and they're evenly distributed. So, and then you can water if you live in a dry area. I have kind of a wet climate this year at least, so I didn't need to water it after I planted it. And that's pretty much it. It's a very simple process, nothing complicated. So the next question is, what happens in the spring when it's time to plant your vegetables or flowers or whatever else you decide to plant in your bed? So I've used 2 methods on how to treat your cover crop when spring comes. So the method number 1 is early in the spring, before the winter rye starts to mature, I cover it with tarp. So at that point it probably is about 6 to 8 inches, and I cover the entire area with tarp. I never till my soil, so it starts to decompose under the tarp and put all of those nutrients during the decomposition back into the soil. And then I uncover it and it looks just a nice prepped bed for my flower garden. Now the second method I used 2 years ago. I actually let my winter rye bloom and produce seed, and it looked so beautiful. I will post a picture of what it looked like. But so basically the trick is to cut your winter rye before it fully matures and before the seeds become plump. Because when you cut it down, you're basically going to plant more winter rye for the summer, and you're going to fight it. It's going to be like weed. So basically you have to cut it when the seeds are still in their initial stage of maturity. And you cut it down at the ground level as low as you can, and you leave it to dry. So that would be probably around May time, and then you work it into the soil. It's going to decompose throughout the summer season, and then you can plant your plants around it. So I hope this helps. I hope you try cover crops in your garden. They're incredibly beneficial for your garden. They're beautiful, they're great weed suppressants, and they add nutrients to your soil. If you have any questions or comments, post them in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.